Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Bleach, the Bound to Arc, episode 66, Break Through the Trap Hidden in the Labyrinth. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So the episode begins after Sato was taken away. They then go to Urahara's shop where Ichigo leaves his body in Urahara's care so that he can go out and try to hunt these villains who have kidnapped two of his friends in his Shinigami form. And while he's at Urahara's shop, they get a call from Ririn, who basically tells them to come to the museum and play their game. So they then, as a group, Renji, Ishida, and Ichigo go to the museum, and they do bring Kon along, who has been modified into a backpack by Ishida, and they reach the museum. They leave their Zanpakuto in these cases that are left for them, and they then enter into what is essentially a labyrinth of squares that infinitely loop together. And at first they try to make it through similar to a maze by putting their hand on like one wall and then just following that, but they end up feeling like they're going in circles. So ultimately Ishida takes some yarn that he put inside of Kon out and ties it on a pole in one of the museum rooms, and they then keep that string. However, then they do go again in a circle, and when Ishida draws the diagram, he starts to realize what is happening, and then Ichigo and Renji butt heads because they're so alike that, opposites may attract. People who are very similar seem to be repulsed, and so they start going in opposite directions, which ends up making them go in a row of three. This leads Ishida to realize that they are basically playing a children's game. From what I understand of the explanation, it's similar to tic-tac-toe, but not quite. Like the Japanese version of tic-tac-toe, essentially, is what they're playing. And so once he realizes that, he calls Ishida calls Ichigo and Renji back. They then break through the illusion of a trap in the room, breaking free of it ultimately. And while they're in the illusion, they do fall into certain traps. There's one trap where the floor falls out from under them. They get that one twice. And then there was another trap where they saw Shaden Inoue in a like display case, and then they ended up in display cases, but Kon didn't end up in a display case, so was able to break that illusion for them. But anyways, once they've finished the game, their Zanpakuto are returned to them, as are Inoue and Sato, and they basically say you won hide and seek, and they obviously won the game of the illusion in the labyrinth. But it's not over, because as they're leaving through the gates, that like the big bone gates, Ririn, Claude, and Noba tell them that, they're students and they shouldn't miss school and to get ready for the next game, showing that a new game has begun. And that is what happened in this episode. So now we've had a brief reminder of what happened. Time to rank the episode, first on the mostly objective ranking, followed by the personal ranking. So in the mostly objective ranking, basically our multi-arc supporting character developments, we have Kon being modified into a backpack by Ishida, worth 3 points. And then Ririn, Claude, and Noba are revealed to be modified souls. I didn't add it in the summary, but once they've won the game and are confronted by Ririn, Claude, and Noba, Ishida, who has borrowed the substitute Shinigami badge from Ichigo, ends up hitting Noba with it, which ends up popping out the modified soul pill from his, I guess it's a false body, similar to what Renji and Rukia had used, like Renji's using now and Rukia used in the first series. So basically the little pill, which is what Khan looks like when he's not in the stuffed animal, pops out, and this is how they realize that they are modified souls. And then, of course, they escape and start the next game. But that's 3 points each, which leaves us as a 6 out of 10. I grouped Ririn, Claude, and Noba together because they are, at this point, a definitive trio at this point. Um, and I guess technically you could say only Noba was officially revealed because he's the one who ended up having the pill spit out. But obviously, if he's a modified soul, so are the others. So, like I said, I lumped them together. 3 points each for Khan, and then those three, making it 6 out of 10. And that is our lowest score so far. So, on our mostly objective ranking, we had Creeping Terror, the second victim, new school term, Renji has come to the human world, and then this episode, Break Through the Trap Hidden in the Labyrinth, is third so far. On the personal ranking side, honestly, I agreed that 6 was a good score for this episode. There wasn't really anything that was negative about it. But honestly, I personally find mazes to be a little bit on the boring side because you basically have the same setting and you basically have them wandering for a while before they figure out the trick to it. And they did try to keep it a little bit interesting with the various traps that they ran into. But even then, there was essentially the trap where they became display pieces, and then the traps where the floor fell out from under them, and they reused that one twice. Um, and then there was Renji and Ichigo fighting, and it was like, okay, but oh, that great. Ishida was the star. I mean, I found it amusing that he turned Khan into a backpack, and then Khan's complaining because he's on a man's back and he wanted to be on Inoue's back even though she's not there. And then Ishida's like, I wouldn't have modified you if I'd known I was the one who would have to carry you. And then Khan somehow misses the fact that he's a backpack at first. And when Khan's like, well, just let me walk, I'll follow behind. And it was like, I have put my tools inside of you. And he's like, what? And then, like, there's a big zipper revealed to be on his belly. And some of his stuffing was removed in order to make a pocket. And throughout the episode, Ishida keeps basically pulling things out. And Khan has a moment where he's like, how many things did you put in me? Because he doesn't, like, he didn't even realize his backpack. And then Ishida just keeps pulling things out, including the ball of yarn, which he cleverly ties and so that they can follow through this maze with it. So I did think that it was an interesting episode. There were some entertaining moments, but also it didn't really feel super engaging as a plot. Some parts were a little bit boring, and because it was boring in some parts, I feel like it ultimately was a bit of an average episode. Um, I need to stop saying so much. I think 6 is fair, and that brings the personal ranking to in first, Creeping Terror, the second victim, second, new school term, Renji has come to the human world, and this episode in third, Breakthrough, the trap hidden in the labyrinth, which right now is exactly the same as the objective ranking, so we're pretty aligned on that. Bringing us to the series ranking so far, and we're also pretty aligned on the series ranking as well. In first place on both lists, we have Soul Society the Rescue arc, followed by the Agent of the Shinigami arc, followed in third by Soul Society the Sneak Entry arc, and the Bount arc so far on the mostly objective ranking has a score of 25 out of a possible 280. Then on the personal side, it has a score of 22 out of a possible 280. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Bleach, the Bound Arc, episode 66, the Breakthrough, the trap hidden in the labyrinth. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.